Hi, Professor. I'm Liang. So my final project is about in 2025 to 2026 has the dollarization actually reshapes global capital markets, or it is mostly just playing out in trade and payments. So to answer this question, I'm looking at two clear data points from 2025. The first one is IMF's currency composition of official foreign exchange reserves, data on global foreign exchange reserves in Q3 2025, and the second one is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications numbers on currency shares in global payments for June 2025. So here's here's what I found. We're living in a two trade wars. On one hand, the dollarization is showing up in payments. More countries are using global currencies and the new payments rules. So that side is shifting. But when it is comes to capital markets, especially official reserves, the U.S. dollar is still very easy to change, and that that makes sense based on what we have learned in class. Capital markets don't just need a currency to move money. They need is to hold value over time and serve as a stable yardstick for pricing assets. So it's about the dollarization, why it shows up in trade faster than in capital markets. So what are countries doing in 2025 to 2026 to push the dollarizations? Uh, things like settling trade in local currencies, building alternative payment systems, and slowly diversifying their reserves. But here's the cash capital markets has held higher standards than trade does. So remember the three function of money from class: the medium of exchange, units of accounts, and store of value. The trade meaning is the first one, just something to uh, complete the transaction. But the capital markets rely heavily on the other two: long-term stability and consistent pricing. That's much higher bar. So although under floating exchange rates, currencies react all the time to news, which means volatility, and when there's more volatility, investors want to hedge. If hedging tools aren't liquid, or they are too costly, too expensive, the big players will avoid holding large amounts of non-USD assets. So at finally think about the risk pricing, kind of like CAPM. If currency is seen as risker, investors demand higher returns to hold it. That pushes up a borrowing cost, and making it harder for that currency to gain the global traction. Okay, so this one is some evidence. The FX reserves. So let's look at the first real text. Official reserves using IMF corporate data from Q3 2025. These reserves are conservative and change slowly. They are a strong signal of whether institutions truly trust the currency as a store of value. The numbers about the USD at 26.92%, Euro at 20.33%, and RMB at 1.93%, and the other currencies together making up about 20.82%. So there is some diversifications happening, but it's gradual and not a subtle shifts. The dollar is still the go-to reserve currency by a wide margin. There's backup a key idea. Central bank are reserve managers care most about credibility, liquidity, and stability. So even if trade practice evolve, they won't rush into allocating their uh, portfolios. So the second evidence is global payments. So the switch to the de-dollarization is more visible payments. Yeah, in June 2025, SWIFT data shows the U.S. dollar leading at 47.19%, Euro at 23.87%, and RMB at 2.88%. Is the ranked sixth. So the RMB is getting more attention and using transactions. Uh, that's real progress. But compared to the dollar and euro, the gap is still huge. So this helps explain why people hear de-dollarization and think it is happening fast, because they see a new deal with payment channel. But again, transaction level changed changed don't auto automatically means a currency is really ready to lead the investment funding or global benchmarks. So the last one is why capital markets still USD uh, centric. So let me show you these four reasons about this question. The first one is liquidity and market depth. Global investor needs deep, active markets which reliable benchmakers, uh, benchmarkers and plenty of safe assets like US treasuries that hard to march. And the second one is hedging infrastructure in volatile FX environment. We need good tools to manage risk. If the derivative markets are thin or expensive, big investors stay away. Yeah. So uh, the second one is the risk premiums. If a currency is seen as less stable or hard or predict, investor ask for higher returns. That makes it costlier for governments and companies to borrow in that currency. A major barrier. Yeah, it's a major barrier. And the last one is about the network effects. So the more people use the dollar for pricing, correlators and benchmarkers, the more natural is become to keep using it. It's self reinforcing, even for reinforcing. So even if new payments pass emerge, the the core financial system still return to the dollar when it needs scale and safety, especially during the crisis. So, in conclusion, the 2025 dividend supports a layered view of the dollarization in payments. Diversification is visible. RMB is 2.88% in June 2025, and it receives USD demands percentage is 56.92% in 2025 quarter three. So the dollarization is more meaningful for operational settlement channels, but capital markets change slowly because they depend on store of value, credibility, units of amounts, pricing, convention, and hedging capital, uh, hedging capacity capacity. So there is some policy suggestions. Is the first one is the countries seeking currency internationalization should focusing on credibility, deeper capital markets, and derivatives infrastructure. And the second one is investors and companies should treat currency change choices as management, compare liquidity, hedging cost, and risk primary before shifting funding currencies. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.